Namaste, Galactic family, and welcome back to my channel, IndigoAngel. Welcome if you are new. Please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you are returning, don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can continue to receive my messages. Please like, comment, and share this video. And come on into this dimension, guys, because I have an intense update for you today. As you can see here, I do have a slideshow that I'm going to kind of work through. So this really actually might be somewhat of a longer video today, as I get through the cards of the slideshow and really dive into the topic and the introductory of the Aryan Occult Seals, which I have really been talking about for some time and have been promising those of you who've probably done more interactive sessions with me. I've been talking about the coming of this seal removal. And so I'm excited because today I'm actually going to be highlighting the biological removal aspects of it and what these seals actually are in the Earth's grid and where some of these distortions ultimately came from. Okay, so we got a lot to dive into today. The last time I was on YouTube, I was on with Jean-Claude. And in that update, I was talking a little bit about timekeeper portal passages that are opening up. So I'm just going to kind of give you guys a little bit of a recap of some of my current things I've been seeing, because it does tie into this Aryan Occult Seal removal session, particularly with these timekeeper portal passages opening up, capsules of time, new capsules of time opening up, particularly the Aryan timeline, which was something that we really had a hard time visibly seeing prior to coming into what is the sixth solar sun, or the sub race of the sixth root race. Okay, and so as we kind of evolve into our new set of time cycle rotations within the four hooks of time within the metagalactic core, essentially those portal passages open up so we can see deeper into the timelines that are holding, that may have been more cloaked or invisible within our energy field prior to those time portal passages opening up. So this means for this really to be self-actualized, self-realized, this is really happening a lot for indigos type 1s and indigos type 2s as they are gaining more access to etheric global instant search engines of personal and collective past life experiences and memory fields, tuning into the cosmic brain, just no separation, making superhuman memory a lot more possible, and just more eternally usable for us in this life's recall and evolution. So this is anchoring a lot of future technology. A lot of advanced beings are accessing the fluidity of these time portal passages as we speak. And so what I was seeing up until even through June, we were going through a lot of dissension cycles, a lot of actual rapid progression within that dissension cycle, meaning that magnetism was a lot heavier within the Earth's biosphere. And so reality was actually manifesting a lot quicker. It was very time transcend dimensional, and June somewhat kind of ripped through the space-time fabric, making more of the time portal passages visible coming into July through the Syrian activations, which we have the Syrian sun right now up behind our solar sun, and essentially it's going to be there until the Lionsgate portal. It's like a stretch of time portal visibility that opened up until we really get through that Lionsgate. So this is consciously accessing openings through certain access points in all existing human timelines. And so the time passages are just very fluid and merged. And this was one way that I was able to really see this. It's also been a couple weeks since I have last been on YouTube. That has been because of the immensity, and I mean immensity, of extraterrestrial prima material I was integrating from the serpent mounds. I was being so exposed and integrating such high iridium metals, platinum metals. And this was something I had never really experienced before. And it just really rapidly accelerated my reality, my atoms, my molecules, and gravity actually felt heavier on and in my body, pulling the inevitable towards me. It was like the events that should have unfolded over a year all came within like a week, pretty much like a freight train, where one universal event hit and then another and then another and then another. Synchronicities aligned that were literally pulled from the heavens, stretched into my visibility, and forced the circumstances to essentially manifest and very rapidly. So in a lot of ways, I was receiving a stripping of things that were no longer aligned to my highest path, that were really out of my hands. And everything had to reconfigure to put me back into the 0 point field. So as I created this Aryan Occult Seal Removal, I felt the vulnerable waves of humility and humility, and I was just almost completely mentally debilitated in all other ways except for this for about 2 weeks, just typing all of this up. I really felt like a deer in like the land of ferocious lions, and every exchange from like running to the supermarket to simply just talking to a friend. So I had to really break down to bring this information forward, is what I'm saying. And so this is that stripping has really allowed me to see into everything that I'm about to present today. And I think I spent about 5 solid days in a row just writing this, writing, and going to the core of everything that I am, everything from that space. So about 3 months ago, guys, I did a video called the United Kingdom Grid, and I'll leave the links in the description for this video because I highly recommend watching this. But in this video was when I first was able to begin seeing the full extent of what was tampered within the Aryan timeline and the Aryan root race through Draco hybrids and the Leviathans and other deep-seated Nazis, which you cannot see, okay, and viral mutations in the DNA as well. So really quickly, if you don't know what a Leviathan is, they are considered to be Anunnaki hybrids. But I do believe the Anunnaki aspect came in a lot later, that they were a sea creature prior to this. And so they didn't obtain the highest and purest contracts within their ability to essentially access the time portal passages, the ones that I'm telling you are opening up. So essentially, they're stuck in time, stuck in the rips and tears of time. And these beings do not receive the upgrades through heightened planetary portal transduction into the grids, like the Indigos 1s and 2s. Like I said, it's also considered to be an evil sea monster, which I believe lived or originated from the Mariana Trench. So I'm going to have a picture of that I'm going to just show you guys really quick, actually. So this was a picture that my friend had sent me earlier. And this is kind of the description, I want to say, of like the original Leviathan. Like, this is the sea creature. It's an octopus that is controlling over galactics, controlling over different aspects here. I think this is the Anunnaki Elohim here. But they are like, I guess, the high lord of the dark occult forces, or what is perceived as the unconscious forces on this earth. And so it's very interesting, guys. But essentially, in the modern world, those who would represent the expression of this would be also considered Satanist to an extreme degree, or the Satanic Church in Salem, Massachusetts. So they operate under this label of Leviathan. It's basically admitted fallen races. So it really doesn't matter where you're at in this structural order, but essentially, this is kind of what the viral aspect of it would look like. It is very tentacleic, that has a lot of extensions, and from each one of those extensions of the tentacle is a distortion that has seeped through into the Aryan occultism. You know, all things perceived evil, dark, hurtful, wicked, fallen, even ascended, risen, enlightened, heavenly, godly, everything is essentially misunderstood into the polar degree in one's universal lens, because here on earth, polarity has to really play out to conceptualize stories. And the darkness represents the height of the unconscious body, individually and collectively. So as more layers are stripped from your energy template through stellar alignments, through time portal passages opening up, the more that there is this release, and the more you can essentially see into the not see. And so it's basically seeing into the unconscious. And then you can see the polarity. Then you can see the corruption that sits on top of that level and layer of things. Okay, so I just want to also essentially put a disclaimer on this video for today. The content of this video is going to be highly sensitive material, because it is still very traumatized in the trigger body of the earth. So we have the pain body of the earth, but we also have trigger bodies. This is still very active at this time, because we're not fully merged into the sixth root race. We are merged into the sub race. We are just merging into the beginning essence of the alignment of the sixth solar sun. And so it's like a cut that just, you know, it's a couple days out, and it's not fully healed yet. It's still sore. You know what I mean? So these seals have not really gone under extensive removal, similarly to the J Seals, because the J Seals operate off of the Atlantean timeline. So this is still very misconceptualized in the collective. So I just want to encourage you to do your own research on these topics. Never fully give yourself to something that you do not fully understand. And also to keep an open mind as we dive into this seal removal session. But essentially, I kept seeing the tattered DNA strands, okay? And what still needed to be repaired even after J Seal removal, which is a highly extensive DNA repair session, along with implant removal that really focuses on repairing the second, fourth, fifth, sixth strand as an individual and collective whole. But there was still more. I didn't even really fully start to be able to perceive the Aryan Occult Seals until I had done about 100 J Seal removals, interactive client sessions, where I have gotten extensive feedback from clients. So I just want to say thank you to anyone who has ever done a J Seal removal with me. You have opened my eyes up to so much, and you really opened up my visibility as those time portal passages opened up. It was like I could see right into the Aryan traumas that are still very fresh within this generational trauma wounds and collective pain bodies, trigger bodies, and all of the unhealed memory in the human energy field that still wasn't fully removed from J Seals. And many people come into J Seal removals having a lot of associations to distortions on the right side of the body, and instinctively want to also scan the right side when we're clearing that seventh tonal line on the left side. So what's happening is it's the human energy field is being used to attach and even possess a human spiritual body, and it's it's been done through different timeline distortions. The Aryan occultists really solidified the right side of the body. The Atlantean systems really went after the left side. So basically, I've just been diving in more and more in my studies. I dived into the Holy Blood, the Holy Grail, the cover-ups, the wormholes, the smoke screens, the intergalactic deals, and the landmass radial signatures according to ruling national animal. I know you guys have seen my cosmic grid updates. And it was then that I was shown the Monarchy Seal. So I'll start with the Monarchy Seal, but essentially, I'll probably go back in order here. Yes, so this is the Monarchy Seal. And so I'm going to kind of read what's on here because it really just explains all of it really well. I've seen it right at the center of the chest, debilitating the fourth strand of the DNA. Okay, and so the Monarchy Seal. So mono means one and arc means ruler over top. So this seal represents the plug that grants unconscious submission to the one ruler over the top of you because it disallows you from being able to have rights to the spiritual documentation or record keeping of your family lineage past 3 to 5 generations, as this is necessary to keep a monarchy in reign. So all of yours is disabled within the fourth strand of the DNA and is sealed in a monarchy vault and code of silence. This was a declaration seal in wax with the signed imprint of every living monarch that has ever reigned. It's gone under code names of the Great Seal of the Realm or the Eternal Monarch. This declaration is classifying all verifiable documentation of this. Because of this, the seal is very thick, and it's been stamped over and over and over and over again, multiple stamps. The seal is plugged into the greatest rulership on the Earth grid, covering the extension of the most landmass ruled by one head of state, encompassing 16 Commonwealth realms. This oligarchy hierarchy tends to be tyrannical, relying on public obedience, oppression, theatrical mass dramas, smoke screens, gaslighting, veils of fame, popularity, and illusion. They also rely on their coalitions with other negative ETs or facets of their brotherhood to initiate planetary biowarfare through psyops and denial, propaganda, distraction campaigns, open displays of public emotional manipulation, pole manipulation, solar manipulation, and DNA modification according to positive and negative rhesus. This is a multi-layered seal and can look like a very thick stack of seals on top of one another, inserted 2 inches underneath the Zeta seal prior to J seal removal, as this is the marker that indicates all white royal Draco's involvement with Zetas, Draco Anunnaki hybrids, Aquilas, Orions, Aldebarans, the Archons, the Illuminati, the CIA, the Knights Templar, Freemasons, the Not Seas, and several other extending secret groups and societies. All documentation of this. Nations' collaborative partnerships has been sworn in under this seal. The removal of this seal liberates one from the greatest intergalactic deals enforcing slave trades and contracts, invasions, ethnic cleansings, mass deaths, theft and treason, amnesic and reincarnation, harvesting and manipulation. The seal sits at the center of the chest in red, black, gray, or gold wax. Okay, so I know that's a mouthful, but essentially this one caps the fourth dimensional strand of the DNA. It's really just not allowing you to have that access to your ancestral lineage, which is necessary for you to actually keep any type of wealth or power or land, it's basically wires the fourth strand of the DNA to lose the ability to have memory or access past 3 to 5 generations, essentially. And so this is a very powerful seal. This one really because it sits on the center of the chest, because it alters the fourth strand of the DNA, it's also playing a role in ascension capacities to heart chakra opening and expansion. And it's also really blocking the soul's ability to access aspects of its oversoul, its higher self, and its monadic extensions, essentially. Okay, so I'm just going to go back up to the introductory here. And I just, because of that disclaimer I did put on this, it is, there is going to be a warning and a discretion that is advised, because if you are wanting to get this session, essentially the client must have had a J seal removal prior to this seal removal because of the serious nature of this removal. The Aryan traumas are still very fresh within this generation's trauma. And so you have had to really fully read the description of the seals and also sign a waiver prior to doing this removal session. So certain seals in the human biology and planetary grids control particular timelines related to spiritual biowarfare. The J seals were placed and implemented during the timeline of Atlantis and are fixated on the left side of the body to wreak havoc on the feminine energetic systems, that seventh tonal line. These are referred to as the unnatural death seals. Now, some people are kind of one or the other, and that's what I've noticed is people will still get the J seal removals, but they have less of a connection to the actual seriousness of injury on the left side. Or they actually don't have a lot of injury to the left side, and more of their traumas have been to the right side. So I've taken a lot of notation in that those that are, they're kind of dominant on one side of the body, more so than having equal injury or illness on one side or more of the body. So given upon where your injuries are more located, right or left side is going to tell you where you actually were affected the most in terms of seal matrices in the grids. The Aryan Occult Seals were placed in the timeline of the Aryan root race and are considered the Draco hybrid tyrannical death seals, affecting the central and right side tonal lines, the third and the sixth tonal lines, which according to finger numerology of tonal lines, that would be, that is the pinky and the ring finger on the right hand. So this has continued to wreak havoc on the androgynous and masculine template, essentially. And we're going to dive into all the ways in which the masculine template has really gone through a lot. J seals and Dao seals are two completely different sets of seal matrix implants in the human biology and planetary grid, and should be removed in two separate sessions. And of course, first you should do J seal removal, then you should do Dao seal removal. These timeline seals reveal themselves as planetary precession takes place and root races evolve. Time seal cloaking dissolves and visibility becomes more clear. So this is everything that I was talking about with the time portal passages opening up, and indigos 1s and 2s really being able to gain access to those data networks and see beyond the cloaking seals, because there are almost like layers of pre-matter type energy forces around the seals, and this is what blocks the visibility. This is kind of like why when we do a J seal removal, we clear that tonal line before we actually go in and try to remove seals, because they may be dormant underneath cloaking seals. And so the seals essentially remain dormant in the planetary field in the human biology until the new subrace awakens and is beyond the totality of the total time-space marker of that era. An example is that we could not see the J seal implants until we were into the evolvement of the Aryan race. We could not see the Aryan seals until we are into the sixth subrace development and precession of the sixth solar sun. So every root race is a descendant of their forefathers that came before, that passed on occult wisdom, technology, sciences, mathematics, divine alchemy, and so much more. Ever inheriting root race of the descended knowledge is more advanced than their generational predecessor. Okay, so this is why the Aryan seals are a lot more complex than the J seals. There is a lot more of them, and there is a lot more strategic manipulation within this seal matrix set in the grids, in the planetary grids. So the Aryan Occult Seals were placed by Draco Anunnaki and Aldebaran and Orion hybrids. Also Altair and Zetas as well. And they are preventing ascension capacities globally, which will continue to affect the sixth root race's development. And these are probably the greatest danger to Earth's population as we head into the sixth sub-root race. This is going to highly affect the development of the sixth root race. What they're trying to do is stop the seventh root race global prophecy. And keep that distortion playing out in the four hooks, the 4 time cycles that exacerbate polarity on this planet. Draco hybrids, Altair, Zetas, and Orion hybrids are responsible for the placement of all seals that were placed in the South Pole region, Antarctica, centralized planetary tonal lines, underground seal matrices, and crystal grid seals running manipulation technology here, affecting the pole shift in solar sun manipulation. No one can stop these J seals and DAO seals from occurring planetarily, as they were installed into the organic grid by highly influential and powerful beings working at the core of the Atlantean and Aryan occultism secret networks. Each seal matrix rides a sealing current that activates at particular stellar cycles, astrological alignments, and what appears to be a mass drama playing out is usually the activation or blockage from one of these seals. Each set of seals is anchored through a seal matrix and crystal grid system, causing landmass memory to seep into the soul rivers of the earth and continue to affect every aspect of human existence and collective manifestation fields. Luckily, we are at the cutting edge of these energetic sciences that allow us to remove seals and implants related to generational curses, ancestral suffering, dominating superior race complex disadvantages, and hierarchical oppression designs, sciences designed for collective healing and sending reverse reverberation messages to the Earth's race morphogenetic field and interconnecting communication networks for new Earth planning and design. So Aryan means in Sanskrit noble or distinguished, and the Aryans of India were the earliest branches of the Aryan race. Nazis or the Nazis. Okay, so I'm going to call them Nazis because for one, it's encoded, for two, it's highlighting what that frequency actually means, right? They seized upon the term Aryan, depriving Hindus of their birthright, as Arya means the holy original title of the Indian rishis. The word Aryan refers not only to Indo-Iranian people, but also to Indo-Europeans, including Romans, Greeks, Germanics, Balts, Celts, and Slavic peoples. The Aryan race came to represent all people descended from the Proto-Indo-Europeans of the Caucasian race. So many beings that are an extension from these lineages may need the DAO seal removal session, okay? Because it is a part of your genetic design to be tied into this seal matrix. Nazis or Aryan occultist organizations made deals with the Archons, Monarchy, CIA, MK Ultra, Vatican, Freemasons, secret societies, and extended groups, teachings, and indoctrinations, and they acquired knowledge from the Atlantean occult forefathers, the Knights Templar, and the King of Solomon. So I kind of see King of Solomon and the timeline that he played as a gateway, which was like the closing chapter of the Atlantean system and was the opening gateway to the Aryan system. He was the pinnacle point in that, because in a J seal removal, the first seal that you remove is the fallen Metatronic seal, the 55 reversal seal. And essentially, this seal runs from the Metatronic Yahweh systems, which ties into King of Solomon, which I am going to explain in this update. Okay. So Nazis were also the first groups contacted by white Dracos, the royal Dracos. Draco has always been here experimenting on humanoid reptilians before the grander experiment of modern man came to be, within 40 to 60 super federation groups participating in the coming of angelic humans 500,000 years ago. They stronghold the Orion, Altair, and Aldebaran systems and have hybridized with 75% of other star races in our universal system and have dominated their mass hybridization programs in the Aryan timeline. And here is where the Aryan Occult Seals were placed and solidified in the organic Earth template. So through specific events, technological advancements, and secret deals made within these groups during the timeline of the Aryan root race, biological and planetary seals were placed to keep oppressed the limitation of ascension capacities, to keep the body under immense stress, physical injuries and illness, fragment and erasal of memory to generational records, insertion of superior race complex disadvantages, create unequal and highly disproportionate collective wealth gaps, implement hierarchy, tyrannical oligarchy, tamper with pole modification and solar manipulation, causing electromagnetic chemical human imbalances by withholding the collective's ability to access certain healing passages, altering the magnetic North Pole, and altering the frequency of the sun. They can essentially alter Christ consciousness on Earth and create artificial Christ consciousness and keep dominating power structures in place, hoping and seeking to essentially insert these distortions into the seventh root race design. That's into the future as of now, that they can't necessarily seal this completely through the reproductive system. But if these seals do not start to get removed within these next procession of a root race, essentially these will be seeded and fragmented into the memories of the future races. So they have basically wrecked the organic body and have made it extremely difficult to overcome and survive on this earth. By doing this seal removal, you are stating that you are God, sovereign, and free, that these planetary and biological distortions will no longer bog down your energy field with collective nuances that tie into planetary trauma, trigger, and pain bodies that are still greatly affecting humanity. You release yourself from the karmic loop cycles that are tied to the 4 cycles of time and the ancestral and generational disposition cycling within this. Therefore, healing yourself and the planetary body much more deeply and completely. This session focuses on individual healing as well as collective healing and works to completely and fully eradicate the dark forces working against humanity. This is the deepest work one can ultimately do at this time to greatly assist the light forces in winning against the negative forces. So, introductory to the seals, I'll just pull up the picture a little better here for you guys to see. Okay, so the DAO seals primarily are on this column within the biology body, the central vertical ascension column, and they are 10 larger seals that are basically ranging from the 6th to the 13th density field in the biology. They're in the density fields of the Earth grids. They're also put in the cosmic structure as well. So I'm going to explain some of that as we go through this. But then there are also 6 other remaining seals, smaller seals that are located on the right side of the body, where more likely injury and illness and sickness is to occur in the body because of these other seals in the human biological point. So We're going to go through what all of these are. And we already went over the Monarchy Seal, so I'll probably skip that one. But the Monarchy Seal is this golden seal here on top of the chest. And this one really does extend into all of their seal matrix systems, including the Zeta Seal and a J Seal removal. So it's important to remove that Zeta Seal before you go in and remove the Monarchy Seal. That is a very, very thick seal. Okay, so the Draco Seal. I have seen this as the Leviathan cross, or also the Swastika seal in the planetary grids, in the planetary shields, and also in the cosmological structure. It's a large black seal in the human body, but in the Earth grids, the memory functions of the Aryan time capsule operate off of the symbolism of the energy frequency. Okay, and so now I just want you guys to know the swastika is a beautiful symbol of enlightenment in Buddhism and Hinduism. And a lot of these symbols have been taken from the original Aryans. The original Aryans were the original Indian rishis, so they were taken and distorted. And this is when those seals were created, is when they were taken and distorted. So this seal is most responsible for the great deceptions and the cycles of time, calendar systems, time traveling, anti-gravity technology, and is placed planetarily in the South Pole Stargate inside the Earth in the silicate matrix in an iron seal in the cosmic structure of our planetary biosphere. This seal is represented at the North Pole Star, the magnetic north, and the seal was placed inverted in the planetary grid to essentially distort the rotational movement around a center or immutable axis. So primarily this symbol, without the seal distortion, reflects the functioning of the North Pole and the role of the supreme principle of the universe. I used to have a picture for this. Let me see if I just have it available. So this is the symbol. So you can see how as the Ursa Major rotates at particular alignments, we come into the hand of the four rotating arms of the metagalactic core, essentially. And also this depiction is also the depiction of the galactic synchronization of the metagalactic core is what I'm trying to say. But essentially, this is where this symbolism comes from. Now, Draco and Thuban are wrapped around this constellation. And so it was very easy for them to access and distort this focal lens for people and to place a seal of perception on top of it. Okay, and so this is really distorting the Earth's grids here, particularly in Antarctica, because this is what allows for all time zones to be affected by the four hooks of revolving cycles, purposefully placed at what is geographically called the threshold of eternity. And this seal in place prevents the renewal of the world's prophecy of the seventh race. It limits organic galactic time cycles and perception of galactic synchronization. And in the biological body, this seal will be needed to be removed at the location of one's own alignment to the magnetic North Pole in their pillar of light. So when we practice a lot of things in our pillar of light, we are essentially working within a 12th dimensional framework that is the 1212 electrical code. Okay, that's also what's keeping a lot of that dominant energy in the electrical right side body as well, is we are specifically off that 1212 code. So the 1212 and the 1313 frequency templates have to be reintegrated into the energetic body for balance and harmony. But essentially, the magnetic North Pole is raised up about 12 inches above the 12th dimensional field in one central vertical column, and your body follows this. Okay, your body innately, instinctually is actually always aligned to the North Node. This is why your North Node placement in your astrology is so important, because you are actually energetically aligned and encoded to that. But that seal is placed over top. So that's the Draco seal. Okay, so the next seals in the Aryan Occult Seal removal session, and also in the planetary grids, is the Thule seal. So the removal of this seal clears any grail or past life connections to Satanism through ancestral contracts of blood covenants, curses, and black magic, and pulls the plugs that may keep you connected to negative ETs. This seal gains momentum from the Black Sun seal and is the main source capable of regenerating Aryan race distortions into the human biology and the planetary grids. This seal needs to be removed at the 11th dimensional field in one central vertical ascension column. This seal has been known to attach to also the Templar seal in a J seal removal, and also the Atlantean host memory fields that are distorting memory here in one's bioenergetic systems. So when people have a lot of trauma from the fall of Atlantis, the Holocaust of Atlantis, the Luciferian rebellion, it's because of this seal. And it's distorting the memory here. And so if a person has both of them, they do need to remove them. J seal recommended first, of course. The Thule seal is actually this symbolism here. So it's very, very similar to the swastika that would be around the planetary North Pole Star. Now, when we're talking about these seals in the body, I want to be very, very clear that you're not holding these symbolisms in your body. You are not holding all of that within you. These are seals that are coated in wax, in cloaking devices. They are coated in different color matrices that distort the frequency of reconciliation. And they are also done in metals as well. They've used iron, they've brass, and even gold for some of this. So it is, it's not, the symbols are not encoded into your body or your biology, and that's not what you are removing when you're doing an Aryan Occult Seal removal. You are not removing that symbolism unless you feel that symbolism is there, unless you can see that. But that's not how that seal removal will work. Okay. So the Vril seal, this one is located planetarily in the center of the Earth. Biologically, in the human body, this seal can take root in the 9th and 13th dimension in one's bioenergetic sphere. Removal of the Vril seal will repair one's planetary connection to the original Earth grid. This is also going to heal the masculine. It's this particular seal that is distorting the masculine template, that's keeping them completely disconnected. Because when this seal is left in the body, it also heavily affects the nervous system, particularly the 10th cranial nerve called the vagus nerve. And because it interfaces with the heart, the lungs, and the digestive tract, this is how they control the functioning of your internal organs, skeletal system, all the way to things like sensory and motor functioning. This seal also gains momentum from the Black Sun seal and the Prima material. This seal in the planetary grid feeds and continues to propagate the master race idealisms and hive hierarchy reptilian mentality in the Earth grids. The removal of this seal in the human biology will need to be removed from the avatar body, unfortunately. This is very, very deep within the matrix system, and also the 9th dimensional field in one's vertical ascension column. So again, the Vril seal is what restores the male's healthy, cohesive virility with the organic earth template. Now, the Black Sun Seal, okay, so the removal of this seal allows for 10th dimensional and higher consciousness to fully be perceived. This repairs the 10th strand of the DNA, the IM10, and awakens the oversoul and the monadic extensions, which is necessary to expand into a much more complex universal tree of life geomancy in the biology that gains you access to the deepest quantum functioning of God's sovereignty in the body. This seal was placed in the 19th century by Aryan occultist Draco hybrids. Removal of this seal unbinds and no longer allows the dead being bonded to the kingdom of hell in passing. The removal of fear of punishment by God in the afterlife, and removes plugs of great illusion and deception. The removal of this seal in the human biology will need to be pulled from the 10th dimensional field in one's vertical ascension column. I actually wanted to go back to this seal here with the vril seal affecting the vagus nerve. This seal also is affecting something in the body, also called the DAO gene. The DAO gene, so this DAO gene is associated with hypersensitivity responses to things. It's a histamine released allergic response, and it's responsible for a lot of clinical symptoms, association of functional polymorphism in the gene codes for enzymes involved in histamine homeostasis, with hypersensitivity response to NSAIDs, NSAIDs, which are non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. It's a lot deeper than this, but essentially this is distorting the homeostasis of your gut, and an inability to really, process foods. And it's really causing a lot of damage on the central nervous system of the body. This is directly related to the vril seal. I actually had a beautiful sister reach out to me and let me know about her daughter, who she says has had a lot of contact with Dracos, particularly, is struggling with the DAO gene in the gut. Beneath that, we have the Vatican Seal, and this is considered the seal of confession that hosts the global egregore food source and loose station of fear from the wrath of God, and begins at the causal chakra as a large red seal and ties into DAO Seal 5. So this energetic seal damages, limits, and blocks our reproductive system and clogs it with generational wounds of the patriarchy's control and loss of sovereignty over our bodies and creational gnosis. Many of us incarnate from birth carrying patriarchal wounds from the planetary Vatican Seal of confession that we cannot trace back to any specific remembered trauma. Therefore, we cannot heal it. This is because this seal blocks the memory to the original traumas. This is happening to both men and women and distorts the soul's innate and natural ability to procreate with soulmate fifth dimensional alignment to bring in souls from higher dimensions and evolved reincarnates prepared to anchor in the Earth's highest timeline. This is a draconian hybrid distortion that feeds into their forced breeding programs. So both of these seals, or this seal particularly, will need to be removed at both locations, the causal and the DAO Seal 5. And this is the seal that prohibits sovereigns from speaking their truths directly to God and keeps shadow and phantom systems in loop cycles through frequencies of non-reconciliation and separation. So if you look at the Vatican Papal coat of arms, basically this is the crossed keys with two loopholes that bottoms that signify, these holes signify the ovaries, and the red ropes connecting the two is the fallopian tubes, and the keys at the top are the crossed keys tied. These are the intersection point through the keys of confession. Okay, and so this is how this basically has to be removed at the causal and also at Dao Seal 5, which is right at the ovary or the testicle, in males, the right testicle. But again, this is how they are essentially blocking your memory of the original traumas. It's because it's going right to the reproductive system. And this is what I was talking about, the seventh root race, like this being generationally passed on and still not being able to heal the traumas because there's still no election, because it's literally being cut off at the fallopian tubes. We almost did all of them here. It looks like, okay. Okay, so the Baphomet Seal. So the removal of this seal unplugs the soul's individual and collective wealth curse upon the monetary system and allows for reconciliation of the flow of currency in appropriation to the abundance of wealth achievable on the planet, providing the principal flow of abundance of all values and virtues. This seal was placed at the time of the Templars, that they established money lending from the treasures of Solomon, as Baphomet was the idol in which was worshipped to germinate the lands and made them rich. The symbol of the skull and bones was laid across this seal. This seal has been sustained through the continuation of the Freemasons, secret societies, fraternities, and sororities, and institutionalized indoctrination feeding systems that have continued to worship Baphomet, holding this seal in the planetary grid. The Statue of Baphomet, which is an indicator of a planetary seal, is in the United States and was originally placed in Detroit in 2015. This was the same year that the city took a turn for a major decline and filed the largest municipal bankruptcy case in the United States history. The statue has since been moved to Salem, Massachusetts, which is where the largest satanic temple in the United States is. Okay. And the Satanic Temple is attacking a lot of, I guess, constitutional lands, wanting to say that it's unconstitutional, that they are not allowed to place Baphomet statues at places where we hold sacred monuments that are devoted on some level to the basis of Christianity. So there's a lot of wars that are playing out through that satanic temple and really trying to push the symbolism of Baphomet into the mainstream. This seal is inserted behind the third eye, sixth dimension, and has extension plugs into the 13th dimension. It is the main blockage on the sixth tonal line in the energetic body. It's considered a universal principle seal by Aryan occultist Draco hybrids that they keep at the heart of our nation's wealth and Federal Reserve. This seal has been the root cause of cultural capitalism corruption, where people define their relationship with the world solely through growth of business, accumulation of capital, lending, financing, credit, consumerism, sale of commodities. This is their looking glass in which all other organic human values come second to the golden horse, or what is the symbolism of greed. And it's true. You know, with this one, I actually dated a doctor about 5 years ago. It was very short lasted. And he was very indoctrinated, attended a very prestigious school. And in his home, he had a Baphomet statue, and he would literally come in after a day of doctoring, and he would do 100 Yahweh rounds in front of the Baphomet statue. And this was the first time I was actually introduced to this, as this is a real thing. That is not just a distant thing that's happening. No, this is happening as active practice daily in people like your doctors, your psychiatrists, your physicians, your pharmaceutical people, like everybody who's ran through sororities and fraternities. They are worshiping Baphomet to some degree. Okay, so we have the Seal of Solomon. Now, this seal may look like a seal coated in wax in your energetic body in the form of a pentacle or a hexagram. You may not see a pentacle or a hexagram, but those that may have been doing a lot of induction with using the Merkaba symbol, this symbolism would be heavily running in your energy field. So it's interesting. It's almost as if we bring it in for certain timeline healing or timeline work. We've brought in the Merkaba through the occult teachings of Atlantis. We worked with the symbolism, but now on the Aryan race, it's being extracted. Okay, so it basically removes the beast of the earth plug as he comes with the staff of Moses and the seal of Solomon, and is usually stamped on the nose of the unbelievers. This plug can be one of the largest seals in the body, on or behind the nose, with an extension of 44 DNA plugs that extend off of the main seal. This seal is installed by both Draco and Anunnaki hybrids. So this begins with the blocking of the Ark of Covenant technologies. I actually did a video on this that I will leave in the link description along with the UK grid video, because it's really good to go and check out some of my other work. If you're having a hard time vetting this information out yourself, I do leave a lot of extensive references in those videos descriptions of things that I've studied to come up with my conclusions. So it gives you some reference points to dive in. This begins with blocking of the Ark of Covenant technologies, preventing humanity from accessing the planetary healing energies that naturally flow into the Earth's grids from the Andromedan passageways, which the Andromedan passageways are they hold the commandments of moral human behavior. Okay, so people are not able to access these healing passageways. King of Solomon placed these seals to hide the true whereabouts of the Ark of the Covenant all around the landmass of Africa. Solomon's temples were built twice and fell twice for a reason. The blocking of the third temple rebuild is due to the blockages placed upon the Golden Gate in Jerusalem that leads to the Lion of Judah, preventing the coming of the third Messiah. The Golden Gate is guarded by spirits and demons that have manifested from the global planetary seals of Solomon because of the attempts to control the archons with greater and lesser keys. This also is at the core of specific prime creator wars on Earth, particularly, Muslims versus Zionists, and the prime creator gods that they pray to would be some of those wars. The seal was placed into the Earth's grids with brass and iron. Okay, some of the metals that I'm talking about are used to imprint this symbolism into the planetary Earth grids. This is not imprinted and encoded the same way in your energetic body. This was used to seal written commandments to good and evil spirits. These commands are still running in the global hierarchy of spiritual structure. Demons have obtained possession of the seal and have ruled in the place of Solomon. The picture depicted here, so you can see this picture up here, marking the fall of the Metatron seal. So this is a picture depicted about Solomon. And so his face is basically protruding horns at the top of his head. I kept finding this picture and I was like, this is not right. But after searching through some Pentacle King of Solomon books, it is believed that this is actually the head of Metatron, marking the fall of the Metatron seal, the fallen Yahweh systems, that is 12th dimensionally placed in the J seal removal that removes all of the 55 reversal plugs associated to fallen systems. So today, magicians and occultists are still using this seal to invoke various demons. And I have been extensively searching for the actual sacred books that give the original source as to when Metatron fell. And guess what? I have never found it, guys. But after studying King of Solomon and being called to King of Solomon, I can now see that he marked the fall of Metatron, and that the demon, the fallen aspect of Metatron would be the demon that is posing and has obtained the possession on the seal and has ruled in the place of Solomon. Okay, and this is why it's the interlinking point in the doorway between the Atlantean Grid Seal Matrix and the Aryan Grid Seal Matrix. Okay, so we did just go over the Monarchy Seal, so I'm not going to go over that one again. And last but not least, the two seals at the bottom. So I'll just like open this picture up for you guys so you can see better. But essentially, the Seal Matrix and the Draco Nibirian Crystal Grid Seal, this would be right here. It's a double-sided seal. The removal of the seal matrix disallows for plugs or seals to be placed into the 6 sub-race DNA and future Earth grids. This can look like a double-sided seal with 2 matrix plugs, and it should be removed at the 9th dimension. So this is why it has 2 plugs. And also the Draco Nibirian Crystal Grid Seal. So this is the seal that removes the distortion in the planetary Earth shields, interconnecting tunnels, underground bunkers, and inner Earth deals being made. This is what blocks you from being to remote view into the Earth's crystal grid. And so it's definitely a crystal force field. That's right between the vril seal that's damaging that masculine template in the vagus nerve and the DAO gene. And so, yeah, guys, I know this stuff is really, really deep, and I know it is highly occult in itself, but I do really fully believe in this removal session. I've already been doing it on myself, and it's definitely a part of my healing. Me personally, I am actually more traumatized and affected by these seals than I am the J seals. And that was really how this really kind of came to manifest, is for me to be able to see that the distortions I personally am carrying are coming from this set of seal matrices. Most of my injuries are on the right side of my body. Most of my illnesses are on the right side of my body. Most of my traumatized memory within my Akashic field come from the dark ages and things that were done during those times. And this seal removal is what eradicates that darkness. Like I said before, this is probably one of the most profound healings that you're ever going to do, that's going to assist you individually and collectively in eradicating the dark forces from winning on this earth. Some people may feel that they do not need a removal session like this, and that is completely okay. But for some of us, we do feel we need this, and that as grid keepers, as gatekeepers, we are working on the grids. We are working on cleaning, clearing, cleansing the grids. And these are real distortions, real symbolisms that are affecting humanity. And so I like to do my due diligence and clearing up the distortions, clearing up the wounds and trauma bodies and pain bodies, and get my hands dirty. And so, yeah, I just really wanted to share this with you guys today. I wanted to get a video out up on YouTube. I know it's been a while since I've been on, and it was just because for me to bring this forward, I had to really, like I said, guys, I was really stripped. I was really, really stripped, and it took me having everything removed to be able to see this. So I'm just really happy that I was able to bring this forward. I love you all so much. I hope that you decide to do this session with me at some point. If you haven't got a J seal removal, like I said, I highly recommend doing that removal first. You can find a detailed article, the actual page and description of this on my website, IndigoAngel222.com. You can also find all of my services there, IndigoAngel222.com. And I will be most likely putting this removal up on my Patreon as well, as part of their package deal, so that they can do self-removal of this if they feel that is something that they would like to do, if they'd like to do it personally. So you can find that at patreon.com/IndigoAngel. And I hope you all have a lovely day. Namaste and take care.